So it's been another busy year for the Land Trust, but we did have the fortune of receiving 2 land acquisitions this year. The first one was Josephine Woods, and that is fronts Waterbury Road, 6 acres that was donated by the Roque and Tansley families. And the second acquisition was Kolstad Woods, which adjoins the Land Trust's Brook Preserve, and that was donated by Dr. Leonard Kolstad and his wife Karen Kolstad. So we were fortunate to bring 10 acres onto our property holdings.
The summary of the Land Trust financial statements have been printed in the balance sheet. They're in the back for those of you that got the balance sheet. There's more back here. That is just a summary, since the complete income statements and balance sheets are 26 pages long. They have been distributed to the Board of Directors, and they're also available to members upon request.
Officers are elected annually, and the proposed slate of officers is for President Mark Kazinskas, Vice President myself, Sam Waldo, Treasurer David Schrum, and Secretary Tim Slocum. Board members typically serve a 3-year term. The proposed slate for full 3-year terms, which will expire in 2018, are Joy Vanderleck, Elizabeth Johnson, and Matt Abdafar. That is the slate.
I'd like to welcome the new president, Mark Kazinskas.
Well, thank you, Janice, and thanks everyone for coming out tonight. Thanks again for putting me in this position to assist the Land Trust for the next couple of years, and we'll get on with our meeting.
The Land Trust has a working relationship with some of the youth groups in town, and we would like to recognize them tonight. The first one is Alex Hausman for his Eagle Project at the Brook Preserve. He reestablished the parking lot, made the trail much easier. We found that the original trail there was too tough for the young and older participants to use it. So he made the trail much easier for us to use, and we appreciate his service. The second Eagle project we have is going to Charles Biddiscombe. If you come up. Charles built a kiosk at the entrance to our Old Farms property, and he redid the trail and fixed the switchback, because no one could enter the De Dominica's property, which we abut on that property, to get in there. So I thank you very much. Alyssa Matz, Claudia Butska, Jack Keenan, and Jenny Wojkowski. You'd come up. This group helped us on our Trails Day. We go and we fix up the trails and things like that, and it was my pleasure to go out with them, and I hope they learned as much as I did, because I had a lot of fun, and I hope they did, and I hope you'll continue coming back, and if not, tell the other members of your club, because it was a lot of fun that day.
I am proud to say that I was responsible for getting Art on the board. Not that you needed my help getting on, but I did nominate you, and I appreciate your joining me on the board. I appreciate your years of service, and this is just a little something, our thanks to you.
Thank you very much, and I'll still be around the Land Trust.
Certificate, but I think the fact that the gavel was passed tonight from someone who served on our board for a really short period of time before she agreed to be cajoled and convinced to be our president deserves a little bit of limelight unplanned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I really appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, meeting adjourned. All right, so now we can get on to the program part of our meeting. So I have the great pleasure of introducing a lovely lady, author, town historian, founder of Cheshirepedia, Jeanne Chesanow. Come on down.
Up there, there's an array of images that were to be part of this talk. And what Mr. Shrum is going to attempt to do is to kind of sort them out. This is supposedly a picture of what it might have looked like when a British ship appeared in the New Haven harbor and the first people are watching it come. These are the settlers of New Haven. And we're going to see the territory that the first people actually had. The Quinnipiac and their allied tribes had a territory from west of the Connecticut River over to the Housatonic and maybe a bit of Long Island. Small groups of Wallingford settlers were allowed to go over and cut saplings for that were used as barrel staves. And here we have the barrel staves I talked about. They're simply saplings that are bent and wound around the barrel to hold it together. Here is Cheshire, covered with forests, and 4 intrepid settlers have made their way into town. Probably a good rendition of what that all looked like. You can see all the stumps. Evidently the Mr. Ives or Mr. Hotchkiss has been hard at work. Hand tools, cutting down all the trees. You can see a couple of oxen there. Probably the wife is in the little log cabin. You can see a fire is there, smoke coming out of the chimney. And within 20 years, many more people came, and they did not build log cabins. They built either a Cape-style house like this one, which I believe is still there on Fenn Road, or the salt box style, as this one on Wallingford Road, the Gideon Bristol House, with this cleared land. Here's a winter picture. Joseph Beach went up to the second floor of his house, looked out, and there were a couple people standing out on Main Street. And you can see there is a north-south street by that time. It doesn't look awfully busy. They're standing out talking, and you can see how cleared it was as he looked across to, he's looking up, I think, up the hill toward Wallingford, looking up Wallingford Road. This is the stone-arched aqueduct. The 10-mile river is underneath there, and here is what this great fill looked like, all made by hand. It's a 40-foot high hill, about 2,000 feet long, and the canal was actually riding along, the boats are riding along on top of this. And down under here is what we saw. That's where the river is flowing down there. You can see, you're kind of looking, Dickerman Road is over here, and you're kind of looking off into Southington. Here is the Cheshire Manufacturing Company, the ball and socket. Things we got. Oh, here's a couple of miners' cottages on Wallingford Road. And here are the Barrett miners of Jenny Hill. Now, when Route 10 became a turnpike, and you had to pay a toll, is a well taken care of road. Lots of people came to town. There was a little hotel here called the Munson Hotel. This drawing is from 1860. You can see stagecoaches and wagons, a very bustling time. The green is here, and the third Congregational Church has been built on that green. Here we are at the ball and socket. Again, here are some of the workers. And here's the railroad that came in. It was first called the Canal Line. Now it's in this picture, it's the New York, New Haven, and Hartford. It's another railroad line that went east-west. The Canal Line went north-south. This one was the Meriden-Waterbury, Connecticut River Line. This is the railroad bridge at the Notch, and this is that other east-west train. The Grange was formed in the late 1800s and other agricultural societies. This is a Grange float. had cornucopia loaded with produce, and it won a prize at the Meriden Fair. Immigrants started coming to Cheshire. They were laborers on the existing farms and then began to own farms and actually invigorated agriculture in the state of Connecticut. Now here's the Joseph Beach House. It's still standing there. And that's where he took that picture of the snowy field that we looked at. And you can see something's happening down here. The road has been lowered in preparation for building the trolley track. A leisurely view of town. Joseph Beach is the one who wrote the history of Cheshire that's so well known. This is the trolley has come to town. This is the Waverly Inn, and this is the kind of the Waverly Junction where you can switch trolleys. Here we have another view of town in a quieter time. Tree line, you can see most people have fences around their front yards and just lots of trees. Here's the trolley coming by that same house. Tracks were built, and here comes the trolley. Now we're in the 20th century, and we're building the reformatory. That was between 1910 and 13. And the reservoir was built at that same time, Meriden's water supply. And here's a shot of the reservoir. It's a postcard, something that I never heard of or read about, that tourists would actually come and ride along beside the reservoir. And here's an early parkway. At the time that cars were coming along, we had no idea that a lot of our landscape would be devoted to automobiles. Here we are at Peck Lane and Sandbank Road in 1934, and they're this is Public Works, I think, and they're probably creating a new road. We discovered that the cars were thirsty and needed repairs. This gas station and repair place was at the corner of Main and West Main, 1930. Later on, of course, the gas stations took up a lot more room, had a lot more paving, a lot more signs, a lot more lights. And in 1934, here is Wallinger's gas station and a little store next to it. And the sign here says 10 this way and 10A is to the left. This is in that intersection with where Main is now and Highland Avenue. During the mid-50s, 732 houses were built within a 3-year time period. Cheshire's population between 1950 and 1970 tripled, and just to find community services for people and their cars and their children was overwhelming. Here's an example of some new development. This is skipping way ahead to the 1990s when the intersection at 68 and 70 is being widened. Here's 1985. This is a satellite map, and the areas that emit the most heat are red, and these are highways and parking lots, things with impervious or hard surfaces. The aqua are wetlands, the green are forests, but you can tell we still have some green spots around town, but a lot of urbanization. This is Meriden over here, and you can see they have lots of hard surfaces, and Waterbury over here. This is the 10-mile river at Peck Lane. Many farmers have turned now to raising bedding plants. Hundreds of acres now are covered with that black weed cloth and with greenhouses. There's still roadside stands. And as I said, the bedding plants, the flowering decorative plants are being grown. Pumpkins still being grown. If you are in the balloon sailing over Cheshire, it looks very green down there. The forest has grown back since colonial days, but have we saved enough? And this should be the closing. Thank you for inviting me. The town historian is sitting at her desk, very dutifully writing. Thank you.